Welcome back. Chapter 32. Norrell poured champagne into everyone's glass. Here's to spending a pleasant evening with my friends, she said, old and older. Her guests laughed. Well, I like that, Lynn Phillips exclaimed. I didn't mean you were old, Lynn. I meant that we've known each other since grade school. And of course, I've known Dana and Cece for about 10 years now. I guess now that we're getting close to 40, I'm a little sensitive about the word old, Lynn conceded with a smile. She held up her glass. One more toast. Here's to reconnecting with old friends. It makes the pain of losing a loved one a little bit easier. They all clicked glasses a second time. And let's drink to Michael and me, Cece added. Not only did we find a new house, but we sold our old one. You did? Dana exclaimed. How wonderful. Tell us about it. Cece first took a moment to fill Lynn in on her house dilemma, then described her new house. It sounded marvelous. Norrell listened and tried to smile. She was glad that Cece had found a larger place for her growing family, but it only made her own situation appear that much bleaker. She drained the rest of her glass, and the rush of the champagne spread warmth throughout her body. It embraced her like an old friend. It would get her through the night. Vic arrived home just as Norrell's guests were leaving. He greeted Lynn cordially and briefly hugged Dana and Cece, whose pregnancy was really causing her to blow up all over. Did you girls have fun? He said to Norrell after they all drove off. Yes, it was real nice. Cece and Michael found a new house over in San Jose, nice and big from what she described. They sold their old one too, so they'll be moving soon. Her voice sounded casual, but Vic watched as she went to the wet bar and poured Smirnoff into a highball glass. The hand that held the bottle shook slightly. He knew then that she was just putting up a front, and now that her friends were gone, she'd be drinking herself into a stupor. Any guilt he'd had about sleeping with Mitchie evaporated like a puddle in 100-degree heat. Mitchie felt fairly confident that none of Vic's semen had spilled out of the condom when it rolled back, but she was anxious to get home and douche just in case. She stopped at that 24-hour Walgreens and got a medicated douche. Vinegar and water wouldn't be strong enough. She wanted to get something with chemical in it, something that could kill any runaway sperm. At the store, she noticed a display of early pregnancy tests near the boxes of douche product. She reached out, about to look at the box, but then pulled her hand back. She had no need for early pregnancy detection. All she had to do was douche, and she would be fine. Her period would come on time, and her life would go on according to plan. And if she did, well, tomorrow with Errol's parents, she might be married by this time next year. Ooh, Mitchie. It could be Sean or it could be Vic's baby, but then if you get married to Errol, you gonna sleep with him, he gonna think it's his. Ooh, girl, you messy. Chapter 33. May I help you, Miss Trent? Mitchie offered. Oh no, dear. It's all on the table. You all come on now and sit down. Errol offered Mitchie his arm. She took it, and he escorted her to the dining room, where she saw the table had been set for 4. What a lovely table, Miss Trent, Mitchie said as she lowered her hips into the chair Errol pulled out for her. No tablecloth covered the washed oak table. Instead, attractive multicolored wood placemats held plates and silverware. Ice water had been poured into goblets, and each setting also included tall iced tea glasses and wine glasses. An arrangement of fresh yellow gardenias made a lovely centerpiece, and a tall vanilla candles in silver holders graced the table as well. Oh, thank you, Mitchie. That's such a lovely name, by the way. Is it French? Mitchie wondered if Errol had told his parents all about her, and Miss Trent was simply making polite conversation. Yes, my parents came from Haiti. Ah, Haiti, Mr. Trent said. He'd been busy grilling steak and chicken out on the screen enclosed patio. I've never been there, but I understand it's a lovely island. I'd never been there myself. Mitchie's parents Mitchie's parents had each gone back at different times to visit family members, but she had no interest in seeing people barely scraping by. Really? Miss Trent said. So you were born in the States then? Mitchie picked up the approval in the older woman's voice. She and Mr. Trent probably had a long list of desires, attributes for the future wife of their only son, and being born on a poor, trifle-torn Caribbean island probably ranked among the no-nos. Yes, my family settled in West Palm Beach. What do your parents do? She'd been waiting for that one and had her answer already. My father owns a landscaping service. His employees tend to many of the Palm Beach estates, and my mother is a caterer. Claude Mehu had hired himself out to do landscaping for a long time, but he owned no business. And Catherine, after leaving the hotel and getting a job cleaning offices in the evening, sold sandwiches and potato salads to the hungry lunch crowd at a nearby factory. They both would be shocked if they could have heard their daughter describe how they earned a living, but Mitchie wasn't about to tell the Trents the truth. One look around was all it took to determine that Errol was no son of a bus driver or a mailman who made good on becoming a dentist. His parents had an older ranch house, but it sat on the banks of the Ribault River, was impeccably furnished, and the driveway was populated with Cadillac sedans and a Navigator SUV. She could hardly tell people of this caliber the truth about her family background, that she'd grown up in a rented house a few steps above a shack in Riviera Beach, and that not a single one of her family members had done anything to set the world on fire. Her brothers all labored an average job, like selling stamps at the post office or driving for UPS. As for Cece, putting on a t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants and typing all day hardly qualified as professional work. Maybe you had to know a few special words here and there, but anyone with half a brain should be able to do well in that field. But what are you doing, Cece? What's your job? Oh, they're entrepreneurs, Mr. Trent said with a nod of approval. That's the backbone of the economy, and it can also be a wonderful way to build wealth. Mitchie pounced on this like a dog on a bone. Oh, my family have always been strong believers in being their own boss. My sister also owns a business. She provides transcription services for doctors. So what if Mitchie wasn't impressed by CC business ventures? If it would help her out with the people she hoped would be her future in-laws, she wouldn't hesitate to use it to her advantage. Mitchie is down low dirty. Our family has a long entrepreneur history, Mrs. Trent remarked. My parents owned the African American funeral home in Crescent City, and my husband's father ran a moving and storage service. Were you bitten by the entrepreneur bug yourself, Mitchie? Mr. Trent asked. I'm afraid not. I'm a bilingual paralegal for a law firm downtown. Do you plan on becoming an attorney? This from Mrs. Trent. Mitchie felt like a tennis ball being volleyed back and forth. She wondered if the Trents realized that their questions were being asked in an alternative rhythm. No, I want to marry your son and have his baby. I considered it at one time, yes, she said, but I do enjoy my career. Working full-time and going to law school at night would be, if you'll excuse my bluntness, hell. I'm sure it would be. We went the safe route ourselves, Mr. Trent remarked. I'm district counsel for the Small Business Administration, and my wife is a department head at the Internal Revenue Service. But of course, Errol is self-employed, his mother said proudly. He started his own business from the ground up. It's a huge undertaking, but in the long run, it'll be worth it, even if it means waiting years before he can settle down. Mitchie discreetly lowered her lashes. Her first reaction was to scrawl at what she recognized was Mrs. Trent's message to her not to expect marriage from Errol this soon in the game. Ooh, his mother is reading her. I'm sure, she murmured. Have you ever been married, Mitchie? Mr. Trent asked. No, I haven't. I'm still looking for my Mr. Right. Mitchie enjoyed the look of shock on Juanita's Trent face. She think I want to marry her precious son? I do, but let her think I'm not so crazy about him. And do you have any children? Mrs. Trent asked demurely, wiping the corner of her mouth with a cloth napkin. Mom, Errol said, find time to tune in. Errol said, his tone indicated she'd gone too far. Oh no, Mitchie said, looking properly taken aback. I never want to have a child unless I was in a happy, secure marriage with a man who could support them. She didn't know what she'd do if she ever found herself a single mother. Most of them struggle to get by. Look at Dana. Surely she wouldn't be taking in boarders and working full-time in addition to all the hours it took to run a business if her husband had provided for her decently. She should have known Errol's parents would want to know about that. It was a cinch they wouldn't want him to get involved with anyone who had children, and it wasn't limited to just children out of wedlock. Errol could be 40 and dating a 35-year-old divorcee, or even a widow like Dana, but the Trents were certain not to like it if she had kids. Mom, Dad, Errol pleaded, do you think we can stop the investigation of Mitchie and have a nice, pleasant conversation? Well, we're sorry, Miss Trent said with a touch of indignation, but you can't blame us for being a little curious. You announce you're bringing a young lady over for dinner and don't tell us anything about her? We don't even know how long you two have been seeing each other. She smiled at Mitchie. You see, my dear, when my son brings a girl home to meet us, that usually means she's very important to him. So naturally, we want to know all about her. Errol broke in again. Mom, please, you're embarrassing me. Mitchie placed a hand on his forearm. No need to be embarrassed, Errol. I think you're pretty special too. The Trents beamed at her and she flashed a smile as wide as Broadway. When Errol brought her back home, he made his usual play for her. Usually his kisses struck her as incredibly sensual, but tonight they simply seemed wet and sloppy. Mitchie pushed him away. I'm awfully tired, Errol. Remember, tomorrow's a work day. I know, he said, his hands grasping her buttocks. Just give me one more minute of heaven. He nuzzled her neck until her heavy sighs stopped him. Mitchie, what's wrong? You've been so quiet ever since we left my parents. Don't you feel well? I'm just a little tired, that's all. My parents liked you, you know. I liked them too, she lied. The Trents had the same effect on her as most people. She was indifferent to them. They mattered only if they interfered with her plans. But Errol, I really like to get ready for work tomorrow and go to bed. All right, I'll go, but I'm going to call you when I get home. I want to make sure you're all right. He kissed her cheeks, then slipped out the door. Mitchie latched it behind him. She knew she managed to charm the Trents, and it surprised her that she didn't feel happier about it than she did. It had been a very stressful weekend for her. She had to anticipate Errol's parents' questions and have her answers ready, as well as turn on the charm, and despite her best efforts, the incident with the torn condom Friday night still worried her. She kept telling herself she had nothing to worry about, that everything seemed to be working just the way she planned. Instead of worrying, an emotional foreign to her, she should be rejoicing. Mitchie thought of the look on Mrs. Trent's face when she stated she was still searching for her Mr. Right. She didn't know if they believed her or saw through her bluff, but she hoped she convinced them that she regarded their son as very sweet. but nothing special. The triumph feeling didn't last long. By the time she pulled back her bed top sheets and slid in, the uneasiness had returned. She already checked her calendar. Her period wasn't due for another 2 weeks. In her heart, she knew she wouldn't truly relax until she knew for certain. It would be a very long 2 weeks. And that is the end of chapter 33. Mitchie done got herself in a situation, didn't she? Mm-hmm. Child. Woo! What's she gonna do? What's she gonna do? So we gotta wait for 2 weeks to find out if this lady is pregnant. And as for Errol, I think that she should not even entertain that. But Mitchie is a person who just gonna do what she want to do to get what she want to get, and she might find herself in a situation she can't get herself out of when it comes to Errol, because he seemed like he is possessive and he borderline stalkish, but and then his parents is his parents, and he kind of might be a mama's boy. But I guess we won't find out until I read the rest of the chapter. So I'm going to see you in chapter 34. Bye.